In the mid-2010s, I became a debut novelist in Indonesia who immediately disappeared from the literary scene. This is because my next few novels got stuck in development hell for years. The editors and I could never agree on the kind of story I wanted to tell. Looking back, it was mostly because I didn't have the language to articulate my vision. I'm making this video in the hopes that you can be more equipped to understand your process and the story you're trying to tell. I wrote two entirely different sequels to my debut novel. Neither of them ever saw the light of day. I got reviews blaming me as an author that never finishes their work, promising sequels they couldn't deliver. The truth was that I had to throw out two finished novel manuscripts, dozens of thousands of words, because I couldn't convince my publisher to move forward with them. It didn't help that I was proposing a sequel to a debut novel that simply didn't sell. I was allowed to pursue my vision for my debut, and it flopped. The editors believed what I needed was tighter prose, faster pacing, deeper backstory. They were prescriptive, giving me a checklist of things my story should have. To their credit, I do believe the novel would have been much better had I mastered those techniques back then. But I did wish they'd gone with something a little more descriptive, outlining my strengths and working with me to uncover my vision. Either way, I tried to be a good writer, so I studied things like Hero's Journey, Save the Cat, and all your writing 101 books. But something never really sat right with me. These were structures where the main character set off with a profound desire and fights against antagonists, villains, forces of nature, internal belief systems, and so on, to finally get what they want. My stories didn't have that. My debut novel was about a teenage girl in a dying cosplay club, basically just having conversations with its various members while helping them work on their costumes. The characters inspire each other through conversations where they finally finish the costumes and pull together to put on a show to save their club. Some people love it, some people hate it. But you see how this really doesn't fit into traditional Western story structures. I failed all of the items in the checklist, and when I tried to fix them, my sequels felt forced. Like I was writing an entirely different story. Fast forward a few years, and an editor friend of mine from a different publisher introduced me to Kishotenketsu. I had left the world of prose for a while by this point and was far more active in comics. So naturally, Kishotenketsu was introduced to me as what Japanese mangaka often use in yonkoma, or 4-panel comic strips. Ki, setup. Sho, development. Ten, twist or revelation. Ketsu, resolution. Conflict may be present, but it's not required. I also learned that it goes back much further to classical Chinese poetry and has been adapted across Japanese, Korean, and other East Asian storytelling traditions. It's a structure that's been around for centuries, even if I had never heard of it. So I thought it was interesting to trace the lineage from classical Chinese poetry to 4-panel manga. But that was it. I just let it go. Another fun trivia in the back of my mind. I didn't think it was relevant to anything I was doing at the time, because I was not doing 4-panel comic strips and I certainly was not doing Chinese poetry. Furthermore, it was always presented as some kind of quirky analytical tool, not as a generative framework to structure your stories. I couldn't be more wrong. Do you want to know why? Let me show you the premises of my stories and I'll let you guess. This is the one from Ellie. A teenage girl explores identity, friendship, and family relationships through working on a major cosplay project to save her club. Upon discovering tape recordings from his childhood, a man reflects upon his complicated family relationships and how to move forward with the memories. A formerly stateless dancer reminisces over a friendship breakup and the bureaucratic hell of applying for an official scholarship. Notice something? They're cozy, low stakes to no stakes. But let's add some oppression and state exploitation. See if you can notice what stays the same despite that. A wife accidentally, her husband, upon finding dead bodies of other women in the house, and seeks safety in her mother's house, only to learn of a more horrifying truth. A fashion design student takes up the challenge of the mysterious thief and learns the truth of labor exploitation and environmental destruction behind the glitz and glamour of the fashion industry. A Power Ranger type superhero quits his team to help a young investigative journalist discover the origins of the weekly monsters and learns the truth behind political criminalizations and activist disappearances. Notice a pattern? Let me highlight some words for you. My stories were never about winning, defeating, conquering, or overcoming. They've always relied on a twist, a revelation that recontextualizes a character's journey. They've always been about seeing the world in a new light. For years, I've been writing Kishotenketsu without realizing it. You may also have noticed that Kishotenketsu isn't the only structure my stories use. Let's see those premises again, and this time, let me highlight different words. These imply actual, fully fleshed out antagonists presenting challenges our main character needs to overcome, and clearly defined stakes if they fail. It's no wonder some editors I've worked with told me to lean into those, give my protagonist a stronger desire, maybe born of some tragic backstory. Sharpen the conflict into their ideological core and let the climax be a battle of police. These are excellent writing advice, and I've been using them in every story after the costly novel, and they do make my stories better. However, I've never used them as a starting point. I like using them as references for the architecture of the story, but these conflicts and ideological clashes are never really the point of the stories that I wanted to tell. Because to me, the revelation itself is the point. To me, stories aren't about overcoming conflict, they're about moments of enlightenment. Those events where a character sees they got it all wrong, or finally proven right, or discovering that they actually do want things, that they have their own dreams and shouldn't just be living their lives following other people. There's no right way or wrong way to write a story, and asking whether you should choose one structure over another is more often than not a false dichotomy. You can have save the cat style conflicts as side challenges in a Kishotenketsu story. You can write the hero's journey where the dark night of the soul and subsequent apotheosis isn't caused by some defeat but by shocking revelation. The question is, what do you want to write? Which is to me another way of asking, how do you see the world? At the end of the day, stories are reflections on how a writer sees the world. But what gets canonized and taught as a proper way to tell stories is a reflection of how a culture sees the world. There's a lot of work to be done in this field, how Western craft and canon teach us what to value in stories and what things get accepted as universal while others are cultural. And this exploration definitely warrants its own video, but right now I'll just say this. The way Western tradition prioritizes individual overcoming of conflict, while many non-Western ones prioritize a recontextualization of events through collective effort, tells us a lot about the state of the world today. Yes, I am saying that story structures are ideological products. Of course, it doesn't mean that stories of individuals overcoming conflicts are bad, or that there are no stories in the West that champion learning over victory, but I am questioning why one of these things is far more represented in storytelling workshops. And here's what I've come to believe. A culture that prizes individual achievement will teach stories about individuals overcoming. A culture that prizes collective discovery will teach stories about revelation and change. And this is why I think a lot of contemporary writing workshops in the West also have changed their approach. Once again, I'm not championing one over the other, and there are multiple exciting ways to combine the two. But if you're a writer whose vision doesn't fit the structure you're being taught, it is worth asking, whose values are your story structures carrying? A while ago, I made a YouTube short explaining Kishotenketsu. Initially, I thought about making this a series of shorts, but then I got this comment, and it got me thinking. The commenter had my exact frustration when I first learned about Kishotenketsu. Why do I need to know this if I can't use it to write my stories? Now, if you come from screenwriting, especially from traditional film and TV, structures are sacred. You have a set time and a set budget, and things need to happen by certain minutes. But if you're working in a much more flexible medium like novels or indie films, Taking structures as prescriptive rather than descriptive can often limit your artistic explorations. That being said, it is still a useful tool to analyze and edit your works. So I think Kishotenketsu, as the formula of sorts, is quite simple. Figure out how the world appears at first, key, either to the readers, to the protagonists, or both. A cosplay club, a fashion school on streams, a superhero team defending the world from monsters. Then you gotta figure out how the world appears at the end of the story. Ketsu, cosplaying as a way to find your own identity and place in the world. Fashion as a world that relies on exploitation. Monsters that are secretly state-sponsored. Then figure out what constitutes the moments of revelation. 10. Learning the desires and anxieties of your closest friends. Learning the true motivations of a mysterious thief. Learning the secret machinations of the industrial complex producing the monsters. And finally, you're going to figure out how you're going to develop into the revelation or show. Working together to put on a school show. Solving clues left by said mysterious thief. Teaming up with an exiled investigative journalist searching for a sister. If this feels broad to you, that's the point. It's not some 17-step plot progression you need to fill beat by beat. It's about finding the core of your revelations, finding that change and growth you. You can see how this plays very well into Western story structures. Maybe the moment of revelations coincides with defeating an enemy. Maybe it's the third act twist that allows you to get out of your low point and finally defeat an enemy. Maybe it's the midpoint where everything about the world changes. Or maybe it's the whole point of the story. Maybe the story has nothing else going on but a coming of age via a series of revelations told through hobbies, friendships, and a little bit of fantasy. Maybe you have a that's already been solved and the mystery is really about finding out what this person was like when they were alive. A word of caution. Some editors might still not like it when you write these kinds of stories, but with this video, I hope I've given you the tools and the language to articulate your vision. And if you're getting pushback against what you really envision for your work from people who try to make it into something else, at least now you can put into words why exactly you decide to walk away. And what about me? Where am I now? I disappeared from the literary scene for quite a while, going with comics and nonfiction, then doing editing and coaching and facilitating workshops, all that. But I've been writing again, and right now, I'm actually really deep into a new novel manuscript. I might make a video on that when the time comes, so if you're interested in sharing our journeys with each other, hit that subscribe button. And if you're writing a story right now that doesn't fit the structures you've been taught, I want to hear all about it. So please share with us in the comments, share with us in the community posts, all that. And of course, thank you for watching.